When we think about our priorities in church life, I like to picture them through an illustration I learned from a friend years ago, and that is through what we might call an upper room and a lower room. Every church has an upper room, and every church has a lower room. Now, that lower room is where we tend to be drawn first, and the attraction and the sticking points to the lower room involve 4 P's. First of all, places, right? It's the place that we gather, the building where we like to be, and we have sentimental value to that place. So places, programs, what we do around that place. So, these are the studies that we engage in. These are the meetings and activities that our kids are involved in. So places and programs. A third element is the people, right? So we get to know people, they become close friends, and we go to that place. We engage in those programs at the church because of the people that we're around. And the last P is personalities. And I'm talking about the personalities of the leadership or the pastor. And sometimes people go to a church because they say, I just like the personality of that pastor. But you know what's wrong with those 4 Ps that invite us to the lower room? They can all change. And so if you think about even just growth with the church or things that happen, sometimes places where you meet change, or the places where a church gathers sometimes changes. Programs certainly change through the years, and they need to change. The people change in a church because people move away or change. It's going to adjust. And even the personalities of the leaders change. And so can you understand why? It's great to have those 4 Ps in the lower room, but if you build your church solely on lower room priorities, you're going to be in trouble. And so we want to always focus also on the upper room and invite our people to live life and ministry in the upper room. The upper room is where we live according to our mission and vision and values as a church. So if you imagine our mission statement at that upper room of the church, I want you to think about the vision of our church as sort of the ladder or the staircase that leads to that upper room. In other words, if you don't have some motivation or some mechanism to get to that upper room so that you can live by mission, sometimes you never get there. That's why the vision of our church is so important. The mission never changes. The vision is something that's out before us, that motivates us, that should get us up early in the morning thinking about how God could use us in accomplishing that vision. And so may I share with you for a few moments, or at least remind you of the vision that God has put on our hearts. It's almost mind-boggling to think about, and it still kind of makes me pinch myself to say it, because I think, really? That's what we're praying for? Because it seems so beyond us. And here's what it is. We're asking God that we might see 1,000,007 homes transformed by the power of the gospel in the next 10 years. Now, let me say that again, just so it can kind of resonate and you can take these words in. We're asking the Lord that he might use the people of Kingsland to see 1,000,007 homes transformed by the power of the gospel in the next 10 years. Some of you know that we prayed for 10,000 homes for a number of years. And then as we started to look at it and do the math, we weren't just talking about homes that we touched, but homes that were literally transformed for eternity through a number of specific criteria. We found that we were over 92,000 homes. And we said, we need to aim higher than this. We need to ask God for something that only he can do. And so here we are, 1,000,007 homes. Now, I'm going to answer 3 questions that you might have. First of all, why 1,000,007 homes? Why in the world did you choose that idea of transforming homes? And here's why. Because we believe 1,000,007 homes could be a tipping point in our culture, such that if 1,000,007 homes in the world where they were walking this way away from God, and all of a sudden there was a turning point and they were transformed, if they were transformed by the power of the gospel, imagine the impact that they would have in their own area. That's why it's so interesting, to think about one home at a time as a congregation, that part of our mission, because if we just reach individuals, then that individual might reach another individual, might reach another. But if you reach an individual in a home, and you consider them through the lens of the home, now that home is transformed, the extended family of that home is transformed, their neighbors are transformed, and now we start to see exponential things happen. That's the way we can get to 1,000,007 homes transformed. That's why we talk about 1,000,007 homes, because we believe that could be a tipping point, even as big as the world is, in seeing something transformed in the culture. That's our prayer. Why do we talk about homes transformed by the gospel? Why not something else? Because we know that even in this postmodern age, in this secularized society, people still care deeply about the family and the home. And so this builds a bridge with any neighbor, any coworker, if we talk about the impact of family. In fact, when we do missions around the world, you know, in every missions endeavor that we're a part of, and it's well over 50 now, 55 to 60, and we're talking about regular everyday partners, they all have a family component because we know if we can transform a generation, if we can impact the home, then we win an audience to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Why 1,000,007 homes? Why homes? And here's the last question that I think needs to be answered. Why 7 homes? I mean, 1 million is a nice round number. Where'd we get 7? And I'll tell you where that came from. As we prayed through this number, we knew that 1 million homes seemed so far beyond any one person that's involved in the ministry of Kingsland that we're not going to be able to get there. Like, I don't even know how to think about, as the pastor, how I could impact 1 million homes. But I'll tell you what I can do. I'll tell you what you can do. I can invite the Lord to allow me to be part of seeing 7 homes transformed. And so I'm inviting the Lord to help me take ownership of 7 households that I might see transformed. Now, if you think about this, do the math for a second, the first one could be your own. Would you invite the Lord to bring transformation to your household and your extended family? And then you start to think about maybe 1 or 2 others that are a part of that extended family somewhere else, and you're going to speak into their lives. Then you think about your neighbors and your coworkers, and you start pouring into their lives and sharing the love of Jesus Christ, inviting them to be a part of the church, sharing the resources and the tools that we have to bring transformation to homes. And can you see how you could get to 7? Well, if you can get to 7, I am firmly convinced we can get to 1,000,007. That's how God's going to work, because it's not going to all be Kingsland churches. We have said all along that we're praying that our fruit would grow on other churches' trees, and we're seeing that happen all around the world right now. But let's covenant together that we'll continue to ask the Lord to do what only He can do, to bring 1,000,007 homes into gospel transformation. Not only will we pray, but let's covenant together that we'll invite Him to make ourselves the answer to that prayer as we seek to impact 7. May it be so. We are praying, asking the Lord for a miracle, that we might see 1,000,007 homes transformed by the power of the gospel in the next 10 years.